سهلا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Welcome to the monthly open halaqa. If you are joining us for the first time, we have a monthly open halaqa and it occurs on the second. It has, for 2017, it occurred on the second Sunday of every month. And this is the first Sunday of 2018. And henceforth, we will be on Saturday at 8 a.m. So this is our first Halaqah 2018 occurring on a Sunday. Henceforth, beginning in February, we will be on Saturday morning. So make a note in your calendar that we are switching from Sunday to Saturday for our monthly open halaqah. And open halaqahs are open to all. And ahlan wa sahlan. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. All right, so we're talking about new beginnings and the yeah, أهلا وسهلا عليكم السلام عليك أهلا وسهلا عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. Assalamu alaikum to everyone. Assalamu alaikum to all of you. Oops, there's my alarm there. Assalamu alaikum to all of you, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless your new beginning and your happy, inshallah, happy new year of 2018 and make it a blessed year for you and a blessed new beginning. SubhanAllah, this is a religion where time and space is sacred. We've learned from our Prophet ﷺ, from the Quran, from the all of the different sciences within our faith, that we have sacred time and sacred space. Now, the new year of the Gregorian calendar is not generally a Muslim year, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created time, and the Western 12-month calendar is just as much his domain as anything else, and therefore it is just as much a domain of Muslims as anything else. And so culturally, in the arf of society across the globally, really, this time of year comes and people begin to think about how are they starting anew. So we had 2017, and there was lots of talk on Twitter about how horrible 2017 was and what a great opportunity to make new in 2018. And this is a core Islamic concept, the idea that we always have new opportunity to do better. New opportunity to be better, new opportunity to do better, new opportunity to grow better. Whatever verb you want to use, we always have that opportunity to grow until, of course, the end of our life comes and that opportunity disappears. And we take with us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what we sowed and what we grew during this life. Now, when we think about new beginnings in January, we think about a new year, we think about a new start. We think about how to get back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there are, in the concept of new beginnings in Islam, we have Ramadan. It comes every year to cleanse us, and that's a special time of year. And then we have Hajj, which comes every year to cleanse us. And if you go to Hajj, it's both a time and space. If you aren't able to go to Hajj, then it's still a sacred time for you, especially Arafat. But even all the 10 days are still a special time for Muslims. Even every single day that comes, every time we pray, before we do the days, every time we pray, we know the well-known hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he said to his companions, if you were to wash in that river right here 5 times a day, would any dirt remain upon you? And they said, La ya Rasulullah. And he said, and the analogy to this river is the prayer. Who prays 5 times a day does not carry forth sin except for a major sin. So every single day we have an opportunity for a new beginning. And Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha. We have, unfortunately, in the world today, an epidemic, I believe, of missed prayers. An epidemic of people and who are struggling, but they haven't found their cure in doing their prayers. And so while Islam offers us 5 new beginnings a day, 5 opportunities to wash away our mistakes, to wash away our errors, to come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and reestablish that relationship 5 times a day, so many of us are missing that. So many of us are missing that daily, daily new beginning. And Islam, in offering us this new beginning, has really offered us to be a unique people. And subhanAllah, we live in a time when so much is available and so much is changing all the time. We have iPhones. What the last time the iPhone came out, it came out with, was it two new iPhones at once, 8 and 10X, like all together in one sort of new with two different ones at the same time. And in all that newness, we have new iPhones and we have new this and we have new that. And in movies that show us like something like Star Wars, it shows all these possibilities and ways of flying and ways of moving, way of transporting, all these things. The movement of distance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the secular movement has become strong and popular even in the hearts of practicing Muslims, because it's hard for us to differentiate. It's hard for us to set aside all these things that are happening to us all around, if we're not grounding ourselves in every single new beginning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala offers us, including the 5 days of prayer, 5 prayers a day, including Ramadan, including Hajj, including Muharram, which is the beginning of the Islamic New Year, and I would say even including January. Any opportunity, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah created time, He is beyond time. So every new that we have is a new opportunity to come back to Him, a new opportunity to repent, a new opportunity to grow closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and step away from the materialism and secularism that we may have bathed ourselves in the rest of our lives. So in this day and age, we have the the spirit becomes thirsty. The spirit becomes hungry and becomes thirsty. And the mind is filled with all sorts of thoughts and interesting things. And there can become like a split between the mind and the heart. And this is not healthy for the human being. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us. He created us. He created our spirit, and He put this the ruh within us inside of a body. And that in the ruh is like knitted. If you've ever knit before, or if you haven't knit, it's like sewn into the body in a sort of a spiritual way that's hard for us to understand. We know that it is interconnected to the body, however, and we know that because death is a removal of the ruh from the body. Therefore, the interconnectedness exists in life, and the disconnectedness occurs at death. Now, so what does that mean? It means that there is an interplay between the ruh, the spirit, and the body. And so if we live in a time that's very materialistic and secular as we do now, we end up focusing on the body so much that we can have a split between our ability to sense the unseen world, our ability to sense and feel our own spiritual emptiness. So we have become very good at feeling hunger. My guess is that societies before us were not necessarily so adept at knowing exactly when they become a little bit hungry, because they didn't have food so readily available for them. We have, I don't know what your local grocery store is called, but we've got in Kuwait, there's Safeco. In Minnesota, there's Cub Foods and Kowalski's and TJ Maxx and Target, not TJ Maxx, Trader Joe's and Target, and all within walking distance of each other. And you walk into each grocery store. I remember when I first moved back from Syria. When I lived in Syria, I would go to my little vegetable guy, and there was a little shop that had some foreign goods that I would buy from, and then I would go to my butcher. Everything was a separate place to go, and every place I went was fairly small. The first time I went back to the United States after living in Syria for 20 years, I walked into the grocery store and I was totally overwhelmed by all the food. It was just too much for me. I couldn't decide what I wanted to buy. There was so much food, and we live in a time where we feed our body, we feed our desires, we understand the physical needs of ourselves. We know when we need to sleep. If I told you how many times people tell me, are you getting enough sleep? 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 Wallah, yani, and you would be, if I had a nickel for every time someone asks me if I'm getting enough sleep, and maybe they have a right to ask me, but that's not the point. We have a very good understanding of what we need physically, and we can have long conversations about it. People make money opening up gyms and delivery services for food, because God forbid we would be at home and not have food to eat. At the moment we become hungry. How many times have you seen people who walk into a house that has a refrigerator full of food and cupboards full of food and say, there's nothing to eat? There's nothing to eat. All of the people before us, had they seen that, they would have keeled over in their shock at how much we have to eat. This is how we've gotten used to it. And what my point here is not actually to find criticism in that as much as it is to recognize that while we have become so very good at our physical needs, so very good at understanding them, fulfilling them, following up with them, going to the massage therapist if we have a crick in our neck, going to the health food store if we think we need special vitamins, going to a special doctor if we need this potion or that oil or this kind of food or whatever to take care of this body. What do we know or understand about our spiritual needs? We're not in touch. We as a culture and as a community, as a global community, we are not in touch with our spiritual needs. People don't even know the difference sometimes between praying Fajr on time and missing it. They don't feel a difference in their hearts. Believe me, they would feel the difference if they miss breakfast. The same person who can't manage, Ya Latif, to miss breakfast one day, wallah, I'm not saying we should miss breakfast, and I'm not saying that breakfast isn't important, and I'm not saying that breakfast is not an important meal. I'm saying that the same person who knows immediately that her blood sugar has gone down just a little bit because she missed breakfast or she missed lunch or she wants a cookie after lunch or whatever, that same person has no feeling about her spirit and how much it has crashed from low spirit sugar, if you will, from the lack of prayer or the lack of tahajjud or the lack of dhikr or the lack of Quran or the lack of hufz or the lack of standing up at night or the lack of fasting or too many days of fasting that have built up against her, built up with her in debt or, 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 or a long list. Those are the things she didn't do. Or the sin that she accumulated in eating mal haram, in looking at things that are haram, in building up a life that is not grounded in spirituality. She doesn't even know. She would know if she ate a little bit of extra fat for lunch today. Because I just feel it. It was so fatty. I don't eat fried. No, thank you. I don't eat fried food. No, thank you. She knows. She feels it. But where is the woman who, if I fine, has that physical awareness? Because we need these bodies to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need them to be healthy, to carry our spirit. We don't need this body for any other reason. We don't need it to show off. We don't need it to catch a man. We don't need it to get on some billboard somewhere. We need this body so that it can carry our spirit in a beautiful way, our ruh, and so that we can serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in it. And for that, we should work very hard to take care of our body, to be sure, because if we don't have a body that is healthy to carry our spirit, then we will struggle in everything that we have to do. But we need a spirit that is healthy to live inside this body so that we can contribute to society, so that we can be good parents, so we can be good friends, so we can be community leaders, so that we can be khulafa, so that we can be of the Khalifat Allah, so that we can be of those who represent, those who fulfill the purpose of our creation. And in order to have a strong spirit, we have to have an understanding. Just like we are so good, mashallah, we are so good at understanding our physical bodies, We need to have an understanding of our physical hearts. How many of us have the sensitivity to know how we're feeling spiritually? Or how many of us can even come close to how good we are at understanding how we feel physically compared to how we feel spiritually? The connection, the spirit is fed by the nutrition of worship, it is protected by good deeds, and it is made strong. It is made strong by good deeds, and it is protected by building, a spiritual immune system. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So let me first say about new beginnings. So if we are going to begin 2018, if we want to truly create positive cultural change, if we are looking around the world right now and seeing an absolute disaster, if we are exhausted and tired, if we feel like we cannot get up tomorrow morning and start again, if we feel like I can't even look at my news feed, I don't even know what to do about 10 years from now, I can't even think about 10 years from now with my children, I can barely think about today. If we are feeling like that, if we are feeling so overwhelmed, then it is time for us to have not just a personal new beginning, but a worldwide global change, a global new beginning. And that global new beginning has to begin with us individually as Muslims, finally picking up the standard of Khalifa, picking up the responsibility of being of those who the Prophet ﷺ came to teach so he could leave on this earth to carry forth the responsibility of Khulafa. Now, in order to be that person, we have to begin by fulfilling the Arkan al-Islam, the very basic pillars of Islam. There's much more to be done, but without the basic pillars of Islam, we will not hold up the earth. We will not hold up ourselves. We will not be able to make any change, nor will we be able to carry the responsibility that we have been given. And so, of those five arkan, the five pillars of Islam, the first one is prayer. For those of you who are the Twitter people, you see that I've been putting out tips for no more missed prayers in 2018. It's now January 14th, so you maybe missed a prayer before that. Who cares? Today is another day. Now let's have no more missed prayers beginning with January 14th or January 15th, wherever you live in the world. On January 14th, 2018 until January 14th, 2019, no more missed prayers. Can you imagine how the world will change if Muslims stop skipping and missing prayers? In order for us to have a new beginning, we have to first find the place that our spirit is rooted. And when we talk about food in our bodies, we know that our bodies need food to survive. Our bodies need food and our bodies need rest. Our spirit needs prayer and our spirit needs dhikr, or the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That dhikr, that remembrance, can come in phrases of praise, can come in Quran, memorization, recitation, repetition. But our body and our soul both have needs for consistent needs, excuse me. Just like our body needs to eat in order to be strong, our spirit needs to pray in order to be strong and healthy. Yes, exactly. I mean praying them in their assigned time. That's exactly what I mean. I mean praying our prayers on time, not qada, not missed. Of course, if we miss it, we pray qada, because it's a debt to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But imagine let's continue in our food analogy in the body. We all know very well that if we skip breakfast and lunch, we don't come home and eat all at one time, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and expect our body to be healthy. No, your body's going to be sick, and you're going to have too much food, and the stomach organ probably can't even take all that food. It's going to expand, and you may even vomit from it. it's the importance of praying each prayer in its time. And now it's winter time. So now it's winter time. I see someone talking about Fajr. Now it's winter time. Fajr now in the winter is the easiest time to pray Fajr rather than in the summer when it's really early, so early. So now is the time to really work on that Fajr prayer. Of course, you could say that yes, but Dhuhr and Asr become more difficult because they're closer together during the day. Yes, they are. But this, I'm not even talking here about how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how it's a rikn of our faith, how the in the Shafi'i madhab, the difference between a believer and a non-believer is the prayer. How these kinds of really uh, legalistic terms, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the need of our spirit. The need of our spirit that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the Prophet sallallahu to bring us mercy. Our Prophet is here as a mercy. And we need to recognize that a piece of that mercy is the prayer. That when he went in Isra and Ma'raj and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the 5 prayers a day, this was a mercy for us. In the same way that having food in the grocery store, in the refrigerator, is a mercy for us. Knowing that we're going to be able to eat, knowing we're going to be able to be healthy and strong, knowing we have access to food, which not everyone in the world has, but I'm going to assume that many, at least most of the people able to attend an online lesson, have access to food. In the same way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us access to Him. The Prophet ﷺ said to his companions, I love this, I love that story. I can imagine them. There he is. There's a river, a little creek river, and he says, if you bathe in this river 5 times a day, will any dirt remain on you? There, you know, it's one of those very obvious things. Of course not. And the Prophet ﷺ says to them, in the same way, if you pray 5 times a day, sin will not stick to you except for your major sins. What does that mean? It means that your spirit will be lighter. It will be healthier. Just like when you eat, your spirit will be stronger. So if we want to have a true new beginning, if we are really serious, the first thing we have to do is commit to praying 5 times a day within the time. Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha. Now, once we commit to that, I remember one time I was thinking about how many Muslims I'd met and how many of them are still not praying all their prayers on time and trying to figure out percentages. And we are in the world over how many are we Muslims in the world? Over 1 billion people. Over 1 billion people. And if we began to actually pray, do you know what would happen? Can you imagine just the effect of that dua, just the effect of that, how that would affect the earth? We don't know because it hasn't happened yet. So the first new beginning is for us to make a commitment to to pray all of our prayers on time. Now, making the commitment doesn't mean you won't miss once in a while, but the commitment is what's most important. And then you learn, and then you get tips from each other. Just like sometimes you miss breakfast, or sometimes you are not doing so great with your food. That's because you're sick. When is it that you can't eat? When is it that you can't eat? When there's something sick on the inside. You can't eat because something's wrong with your body. The same thing, sometimes you don't feel like praying, you don't feel like getting up to pray, you don't feel like standing for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because there's something wrong with your spirit. Your spirit is tired or hurt or stained from sin. And so it becomes more difficult to come to the prayer. It's even more important then to stand in the prayer because then it's a cleansing and it's a strengthening and it's a renewing and it's a coming back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, now in this new beginning, we have the new beginning of our personal prayer and our personal spirit and our personal relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We also need a new beginning in our relationships with one another. And inshallah, Habibti Bilqis, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it easy for you and will wake you up and will, you and everyone else here who isn't, because there's everyone else here who is struggling but isn't typing in the chat box, will make it easy for you and will make it something that you are committed to and that you run to, just like, okay, before I go to the next topic, just like if you had a test, you would get up and run. If you had an airplane ticket, bam, you'd be there. If you had an appointment with someone you really love and really care about, you'd get up and you'd go to that appointment. In the same way, we need to create love in our heart so that we want to stand for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that it's an exciting thing to do. And one of those things, actually, by the way, I want to talk about relationships, but before I do, one way to do that is give yourself treats. You only give yourself when you pray on time. So, what is the thing that you want? What is the thing that you really like to have or to do? Give it to yourself if you pray on time. And whatever that treat is it a kind of food, a kind of coffee, maybe if you, just like with children, give your nefis, because your nefis is fighting you. Your nefis wants to sleep. Your nefis doesn't want to change its habits. Your nefis doesn't want to be change where it is. So, but the nefis is a malleable thing. It has other things it wants. So if you say, well, I'm taking away from you the ability to tell me to sleep instead of pray, I'm going to give you this donut or cookie that you want, or maybe this opportunity to buy a new book, or um, go to a park, or I don't know, learn ice skating or something. The relationship, the new beginnings that we need in our relationships are connected to a new beginning in our love. In our love. Let me put a period after that sentence. We as a community, unfortunately, I believe, have we have begun to, or we haven't begun, we've fallen into the habit. I want to say this carefully because I don't want to be misunderstood. We've fallen into a habit of halal and haram. So what do I mean by that? The question of, is it haram? Is it halal? Is one issue. And also the way we measure relationships is it right? Did you fulfill my rights? Did you do what you're supposed to do for me? And this attitude of halal haram is not the attitude of the believer. What do I mean? That's like, hear me out here. Excuse me. Hear me out before you say, well, what you talking about? Because I am certainly not dismissing or belittling the legality of halal and haram. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Instead, I'm addressing a way of thinking that we have allowed ourselves to come into. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he describes his servants, وَعِبَادَ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلى الْأَرْضِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ على الأرض, who has left my mind. وعباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا وإذا خاطبهم الجاهلون قالوا سلاما. The servant of the merciful is the one that this is who we are. This is who we are. Muslims are عباد الرحمن. Ar-Rahman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name that we say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, is a name he taught us through the Quran, through the Prophet. We are عباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا. We are those who are gentle. وإذا خاطبهم الجاهلون قالوا سلاما. We say peace. We say peace. We are a people who don't seek out our revenge, but people who do the best, not those who are doing what is good, who do ahsan, who do the ahsan, who become of the muhsinin. This is our goal, to become of the people of ahsan. And so the paradigm we should be living with is not what is halal and what is haram, but rather what is best. And again, to be very clear, and I see you, Katie, and I'll come to your question in a minute, but to be very clear, I am not in any way belittling the need, the shara' of halal haram. Not at all. What I'm saying is that the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the way of the Prophet, the way of the Quran, the way of Islam is not a way of this kind of uh, really simplistic uh, response to life, but rather the far more complicated seeking what is best. And so when we're interacting with people, we're not looking, did you give me my rights? Have you given me? We're looking to be the best we can be with them. When we're interacting with someone we love, we don't say, are you giving me my rights? No, sure, I give you my rights. Probably not, because that's the basic state of the human being, is that we're always falling short in things we're supposed to do. But rather, how am I extending myself to you in a way that makes me of the ibad ar-Rahman, of those who love and those who are peaceful and those who bring gentleness to the earth and bring goodness to the earth. And so, in our new beginning, and I'll come back to the prayer now, but in our new beginning of prayer, we want our prayer to come in and trickle down into our heart and make us people who are gentle. That when we walk on the earth, we're gentle. We don't cause strife in people's lives. We cause beauty in people's lives as much as we can. People who, when others say things to us, we respond with them. By the way, this is not something easy for me. It's easy to talk about it, but for 30 years I've been fighting my own terrible temper. And I recently, it's not easy. It's not easy. I haven't gotten rid of my temper. I've only found ways to avoid allowing it to explode, because that is what is best. And so, in this new beginning of 2018 or January 14th, or just this beautiful day that Allah created and gave to us, let us find a way to be Ibad al-Rahman, to be of the people of Ihsan, to be of the Muhsinin. All right, I'm going to come back to prayer because you have questions and comments. So Katie says, I bend over backwards to avoid missing prayers when during the day. It's a real logistical problem being in a non-Muslim majority society, being a woman, combined with some personal health issues. Other people insist on praying in the day, having adequate space and time. We're doing dawah, it helps our listeners. I'd like to discuss it a moment. Sister answers and speaking. So certainly being in a non-Muslim majority society does make it difficult. And when I started my doctoral program at the University of St. Thomas in St. Paul, it was a struggle to find a place to pray. And I went to my department and asked for a place, and they said, "Oh yeah, we're going to try to get you a place." And for a whole year, nothing happened. And so I had my own sort of ways of praying in their faces to try to force them to find me a place. But I would pray in classrooms, or pray in the hallway, or pray in the stairwell, or pray in the this, or pray. I mean, that's where I would pray. And the ways to help with that are bring a little. You could wear boots or khaf, the kind of thing, so you can make your wudu. You can just wipe over the top of your boots. There's special kind of boots, and your madhab will give you the rules for those. But that helps you, so you don't have to make wudu in public, or make wudu in the bathroom, or make wudu in a public place, or putting your foot in the sink and all that sort of difficulty. You'll be able to wipe on your boots. Another thing to do is to plan your day, so you plan where you're going to pray. So I'm going to be here. Where am I going to pray? Where am I going to make sure that I pray when I'm in this particular place, for example, whatever that place is. That's another way to do that. And certainly in your job, or wherever you go on in the shopping mall, there's the favorite place of all Muslims is to pray in the dressing room, of course. And then plenty of times I've prayed in parking lots and in parks and all these other places. Like, it's the more we pray outside, the more normal really it becomes. And then Nadine says, especially when salads are close together, you can be out all day, sometimes praying in the car. So just as a fiqh note here, Praying in the car sitting down when you can stand up is actually not, um, would not be the fiqh. Fiqhan, la yajuz fiqhan, and you need to stand and pray. Sunnah, it's fine to pray your prayers sitting if you can, but if you have to, if you are, you should stand for the beginning of your prayer. For all of the madhahib, the qiyam of the prayer is a follow of the prayer. So it's important to try to do your best to be in a place that where you'll be able to at least stand, even if you're a person who prays on a chair because of your knees or whatever. You should still stand for the qiyam unless you absolutely cannot physically. You absolutely cannot. So that's a we're teaching a class in at Rabata this spring called Fun Friendly Fiqh, and the idea there is to make it super easy and super quick and not the real complicated details of fiqh, but just the really sort of basic, how do I manage this and how do I make it work? So do sign up for that if that sounds like something that might be helpful for you. Um, just a quick tip: when you're out and about, dressing rooms are awesome. Prayer spaces, yes, absolutely. Um, and also at the university, what I do is when I'm at the university and we always have a little break, and you can make a 5 minute break between 4 to 6:45. You should have a 5 minute break, and then you just go into your office or your classroom or nearby whatever to pray. Many universities now have, and yes, and there are wudu socks out there now too. Very nice, Afshan. Okay, I'm still reading here. Too cold to pray outside. Well, I'll say that it's not really too cold because I've prayed in the snow before. It's just a quick prayer, 4 rak'ahs, bam, bam, it's done. And it's really not too cold if you're just, even if you're, I mean, I've prayed outside many times. Even I've prayed outside in the snow without a prayer carpet before because I didn't have one. Yes, good excuse. Airport chapel, airport fitting room, all those beautiful places. Well, okay, so I hear that maybe you're gonna, so in the winter, what you can see what you can do about that when you can. And it won't be that many weeks that you would need to do that because of the way time changes. So you could also, it's 6:45, if there's still some time. I'm not sure. But obviously your situation is your situation. But if you can manage to have wudu before you go in, or wipe on your boots, or whatever, so if you have to make wudu for each one, keep your boots there, and just make a really quick wudu. Learn the fadl of wudu. You just have to do one time, choop choop, and it's done. But I think what I hear you saying is that to look for the support where we can help it. Yeah, we can help each other out. And I think that really it's a beautiful thing when we can help each other out and help each other find ways and support each other in prayer. Maybe you can get a prayer buddy at the university. Sometimes that's helpful too. It's always nice to have someone around who will pray with you. But certainly this effort to think about it and work on it is what it means to be doing the best you can. And it's a beautiful thing. So inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, excuse me, will reward you for that. And then, yes, doing the prayer out of duty and taqwa is absolutely necessary. And whether it's not always going to be something that we're always going to feel. Yes. Oh my gosh, I can, yes. So making spaces and messages that are adequate for women is not only a little bit important, it is so important. We are in a state today that is just appalling in most mosques. And I see the third spaces and things like this, and it's really, alhamdulillah, a blessing, the third spaces. Oh, thank you to all of those mosques that are working to change so that women feel more comfortable there. And I think together, yes, wallah, together we can start to make those changes. And even if you go and many universities have MSAs with prayer rooms. Yours might have one if you ask. I know that when I was at teaching Metropolitan State last year, there was a little sort of it wasn't a real prayer room. It was a space that they kind of had blocked off in a room. And many halal restaurants have musallas. And the other place I used to pray at the university was in the library between the stacks. So they have the stacks of books. I just go and pray in there. And also often they had rooms that you could reserve and you could pray there. Yeah. Yep. And yep. Wudu socks. Yeah. See, isn't that great? Special wudu socks. Woohoo. Alhamdulillah. Muslims are the best inventors. If we The whole world would be different if we were the ones inventing cool things for the bathrooms. Stairwell I prayed in. Eh, well, you know the Dawood Warnsby song about all the different places we pray? Eh, wallah, that's a beautiful song. Subhanallah. Alhamdulillah. All right. So I'm going to close up now and say that we are a whole bunch of women on this class this morning. Whole bunch of people on this class. And I hope and pray that for each one of us, this will be the beginning of a new beginning. And I highly recommend that you make that intention for a new beginning. Certainly, registering for a Rabat class in the spring is one way to do that. I'm seeing, Katie, that you haven't signed up for one yet. But we do have installment plans available. And we have friendly fiqh, and we also have foundations, foundations in faith, which is a great class, a great introductory class, and many, many other beautiful classes. Go take a look at our class list. It's really exciting. And it's as easy as attending this online halaqah, just as easy. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for all of you to grow and hold your prayers in a way that they are held to your heart, so they become part of you, so that if you miss a prayer, you feel the difference, just as you feel the difference if you miss a meal. Inshallah, I pray for all of you that you'll feel like that, because that will be a great internal motivation to start really managing the prayer. May Allah reward you. Allah iftah alayki. I believe it can be done with a mobile Lindsay, but I'm not sure. You have to email registration at rabata.org to ask them details about that. May Allah open doors for all of you and bless you. Our next open halaqah will be Saturday, February 10th. We have a survey for people who have taken classes and have not taken classes, as we do our investigation about opening up a master's program through Rabat. If we could put the link in the chat and everyone could go on there and do that survey, just takes a couple of minutes, gives us information about how to help you and serve you in the future. Inshallah, see you all in a class soon, and see you on Twitter and Facebook and Joy Jobs Book Clubs and Instagram and all those beautiful places Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided for us to see each other and support each other and come together